Yeah, we can see it.
Perfect. I'm just going to give you a quick background on AMCS, and then I'm going to take a little different tact on the digital transformation world. So I'm going to quickly breeze through these. So AMCS Group, we're an Irish company based in Limerick, founded in 2003. We're currently about 23 offices, 600 plus employees, and we service just shy of about 3,000 customers across 23 countries. Our head office is in Limerick. We have regional offices in Sydney and Boston. I actually set up the office in Sydney over a course of 4 years. So back in 2018, we ran a digital transformation benchmark survey amongst our customers. And our primary target in that was CXO level people, directors, company owners. And the research took place over the course of most of 2018. And we had about 150 different organizations around the world. And some of the interesting things that came out of that, which are now really kind of, I suppose, coming home to roost. So the breakdown of respondents. So as I said, the majority were in that CXO level space, and the remainder then were either heads of departments or company owners. And of the companies that we deal with in the waste space, 38% commercial, some municipal, some across municipalities and brokers and things like that. So I suppose the 5 pillars of digital transformation that we would have seen for the industry would have been obviously leadership and culture, employee engagement around training and keeping them included in the process, value chain and basically getting the most out of your assets. Embracing new technologies and making them work for your business. And probably the key one will be BI and data science. So again, there's a huge amount of solutions and systems on the market at present that produce huge amount of data, but data is not information, and it's really how to get the most out of that. We ended up with 5 profile companies. Profile 1 just getting started, companies not there yet, companies that we class as working on it. 4 companies that were experts in specific areas, and then best in class. And I suppose the breakdown on that was really that the majority of companies are kind of either just getting started or they're working on it. And one of the key findings from that was that basically 80% of the people that responded to the survey believed that digital innovation and transformation was very important to their business. And some of the reasons behind that was customer satisfaction, productivity and efficiency, sustainability, and just the return on investment, embracing that technology. So 2 key things that we took out of it was that there was a lack of pressure to change and adapt. And that was one of the key reasons that was preventing companies from embracing this digital transformation journey. And obviously the return on investment was another key factor as to why they were maybe not moving as fast as they would like to. So it's quite interesting that 2 years down the road, we now have COVID and people are being forced to address digital transformation in their business. And as a company, AMCS Group actually sees COVID, while obviously it's an impact on our own business, it does drive people to think closer about where they're spending their money on technology and what that technology is going to do for them. Another curious statistic from the waste industry, which might be of interest to people on the call, is that approximately 50% of those surveyed are spending less than 2% on their IT annually. And that's traditionally the case in the waste industry, but I think it's something that's going to be forced to change. How we basically is kind of, we have an AMCS platform. It's built up of 6 kind of pillars: intelligent optimization, digital engagement through web portals and BI tools, the analytics, as I said, transforming that data into information, technology on the vehicles to pull data, IoT data, CAN bus data, etc. A mobile workforce, which basically allows the majority of your staff to basically work remotely without ever having to come to the office, which obviously makes a lot of sense at the moment. And the key to all this is a cloud-based ERP system, which basically allows you to connect to that solution for any place, anytime. So one of the key things that we're focusing on throughout 2020, since I suppose COVID has come to stay, is how we sell to these companies remotely, and fixing our strategy around that. Expressing to them the benefits of cloud versus on-premise. showing those companies that we can deliver remotely, you know, and obviously then support those businesses remotely. And I think year to date, I think we've completely changed our delivery model, and we've successfully implemented 60 odd projects across the globe, you know, the majority of which have been done remotely without the need to go on site. So there's some, I suppose, interesting information. I think my 3 minutes probably is up, Arnold. But yeah, looking forward to maybe getting some insight from the rest of the people on the call as to where the challenges they're seeing in their businesses, and, you know, where they've seen some benefits of their own solutions. Okay.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Gerard. Thank you. I'll now pass it to Dietmar, but actually I need to share the presentation for Dietmar, but it's just 2 slides.
Thank you very much.
Okay?
2 slides only, yeah. We started with 1 and then we move over.
Let me put it on screen. Just a minute. Here we go. Let me know when you want to change the slide.
Wonderful. Yeah, no problem.
Over
Thank you
to
very much. So thanks a lot. Hello, all together. Helpful, very healthy. I hope. Like I said, the signal is not very good, so I try to speak a little bit slower. Yeah, we're Newsshow TV. We do films, we do promotion films, interviews and everything. And what we realized in the start of COVID, we lost most of our international customers out of the automotive industry. I was very highly involved in Germany, suppliers of the automotive industry, and they had no supply from China anymore. Even for me, started the whole thing in December already, not getting anything or canceling from most of the projects. And what we decided to do is wrap up and go or get visible. And we got visible. So we use every tool we have to make us visible out there in different ways. And maybe we go to the second slide. So it's a little collage from everything what we're doing, from book presentations, following on a plastic hike where we were highly involved, cleaning the whole beaches, the whole coast of Portugal. We just finished in October, doing shows, inviting guests, having actors, making cook shows. That means we give the presentation, the platform to small and mid-sized companies, even bigger ones, but the small and mid-sized companies, they suffer a lot. We make them visible. And doing this, we showing how we're doing it. So we get visible for ourselves. And the results out of it is really tremendous. We got a lot of new customers coming out of a total different direction. They saw something funny and they said, well, we're a serious company, we're lawyers, and we want to do this and this, but we like the style. We have a customer in Germany, they financing houses for private people, and we set up a cooking show for them, for people, they do not have the kitchen yet. So they built a house or bought an apartment and they cannot really cook. So we had to run something on a 1 flame stove, make it funny, make it interesting for the people, especially young people. They have their first apartment. So everything what we're doing is really like entertaining and helping to introduce the programs to the people from, and we did a ton of it. It's on YouTube. I think we're 200 films, and we tested it on our own, and the results are there. So more and more customers are coming, and I just can tell everybody they should get visible, even with funny ways, different things what they have done before. And now commercials coming back. People they stopped in March. They coming back now. Tomorrow I go to Lisboa to film something, and it was canceled in March. So my only result out of this is really be seen out there. All social medias, make little films, introduce yourself, and be authentic, really authentic, and that's the most important thing. So thank you very much. I'm open for any question. And let's say last thing, everybody is used now to Zoom, Skype, or whatever. So we don't need classy films, very high classy films, very expensive things. We need things that go quick, information straightforward to the customer, and it's appreciated. Even the CEOs of the big companies, they're in the same situation, so they want information, and that helps a lot. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dietmar. Very interesting. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing. And then now we go with Barry Dennis from Nokia.
You've got me scared here, folks. Everybody's saying about how they're experts in presenting, and I actually run supply chains. So not such an expert in presenting, but I'm hoping you can see my my PowerPoint. I've got 2 pages for you, so I'm going to be amazingly quick. You are seeing it, are you?
Yeah, we are seeing it. Perfect.
Okay, so I'm responsible for the global distribution network for Nokia. Nokia is a telecoms network player. I joined this group as an Irish guy who moved to Portugal that wanted to meet Irish people and see what was going on. But there was talk about digitization, and I thought, okay, you may not know it, but Nokia is building the backbone that's letting you do all the digitization. Us and Huawei and a few other people. So if you're seeing my slide on Nokia, Narulu, and Chennai factories, this is really just a quick view for you if you're interested in what it is. This is 5G really happening. It's factories working instantaneously. It's allowing computer learning and artificial intelligence to tell you when you're making mistakes in production as you do it. We have 2 initiatives that we've gone with. One is a factory in a box. We designed a factory that goes in a sea freight container that can be sent around the world in order to be linked to the network and start manufacturing locally. And the second one is just about Industry 4.0 and what we've done with that, with Telia, one of the largest telecoms networks. There's a copy of the presentation going out. You can also find a lot of stuff on YouTube about Nokia and have a look at what we're doing. But there's some very, very interesting stuff there. I'm not a sales guy for Nokia, as I said, but we're also engaged in some of the verticals, and you may find interesting things there for verticals that you're involved with. Hopefully I hit a little bit over 3 minutes, but not too badly. So thank you very much.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Barry. And yes, there was on the presentation, there is a video, which I don't think we'll show now, but which will be available. I will share the presentation. Is a video about a small digital factory. You call it the digital box?
Factory. We call it factory in a box. It was creating a factory inside a shipping container with computers and automation. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. I will share.
Thanks.
That. Thank you. So now Mario Gago from Pink Room. Mario is an IPBN board member.
Hi, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, perfect.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. 3 years ago, I was working for a software development company, but I wasn't really happy with what I was doing. So some old colleagues from college challenged me to start a new project where we would try to create a company specialized in mobile app development. For the first 7 months, we gathered in the only spare room I had at home. The thing is, the walls in that room were pink, and that's why we ended up calling ourselves Pink Room. I'm Mario, like you said before, a co-founder of Pink Room, and my background is in software engineering. I'm also a board member for the IPBN and the business development manager at the Nest Collective. And for the next 3 minutes, I'd like to talk to you about 3 things. What we do at Pink Room, our experience, and how we can help you. And let me start right away by explaining what we do. So we do digital consulting. And for digital consulting, I mean, we build websites, web platforms, we manage software projects and build digital products. And we work in a good deal of software engineering research and development projects. But our core is mobile app development. We are experts in Android and iOS app development. And we will help you ship your mobile app faster through the most cost-effective approach. With us, you'll find world-class Portuguese engineers, highly skilled and competent in state-of-the-art technologies. That's why we've seen Web Summit and MoneyConf come to Portugal, and some of the most relevant European blue chip companies have moved or founded development and R&D centers in Portugal, like Mercedes, BMW, Siemens, Volkswagen. And we provide these services at competitive rates. We also have a result-driven mindset. We create momentum based on the ultimate goal of getting things done. I'm sure you all know, but arriving at the finish line takes a lot of effort, focus, and smart work. For that, we put together lean and agile problem-solving teams that are very organized, but also very flexible and can adapt to any problem. This allows our clients to remain lean. We develop the product and leave once finished. No more recurring costs that you get by increasing the team. Also, sorry, the Western cultural fit is really important to us. We call it offshore development at home. Besides sharing the same culture and mentality as Western Europe and US, we do sit in the middle of these time zones, having a generous overlap of time zones to work synchronously. Also, let me add that Portugal is a great location to visit and work. I'm biased on this one, but here you can enjoy the sun for most of the year. Let me show you just 2 projects really fast. The Nourish Carer app. This is a care recording Android app for real-time care planning and daily notes for nursing homes. So basically, nurses can use it to track a lot of events and interactions and record important information for the future. For this system, especially the ability to work offline while keeping all the sensitive information secure and safe is key to an application that is designed to make care management more effective, care work more satisfying, and staying in touch with loved ones simpler. So we help them improve the process. Another project that we've been working on is Localista. This is an R&D project incubated in the European Space Agency Business Incubator. We are developing a series of tools for the real estate industry using space technology and satellite data. Just a really fast wrap up. We are mobile app development experts experienced in fintech, in the healthcare industry, and education sector. Our team is composed by highly skilled and competent talent that is always looking to improve their knowledge in state-of-the-art technologies. And we can do it at competitive rates, especially when compared to the US, UK, or Ireland. Finally, we deliver. We know what your pain points are and why software projects fail. Transparent communication, expectation management, roadmap control and budget control, code review and quality control problems. And we know how to avoid these problems. We keep your project in budget and we guarantee it will be delivered in time. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you, Mario. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, so now we've moved to Pedro Teixeira from TaxLibris.
Hello, good afternoon. Let's try to share my PDF.
Yeah.
Okay, can you see? No, sorry, not yet.
Yeah. Yeah, it's coming.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah,
there you are. I'm trying to, first of all, to give you our view of the small and medium-sized companies' digital transformation, and also what we are in our firm facing this development and how we prepare ourselves. Give you an overview of our profile in that respect. But I'll speak firstly what is our view about digital transformation, what we think most of the, especially the small and medium-sized companies should address on this topic. First of all, I think like in any area or arena of our life and also in business life, you really have to have an open mind. be aware that most of the changes that we see around, and digital transformation is one of them, are based on change on the market, changes on the society, new trends, and basically companies have to adapt. And that leads in many things like we are today talking about, which is the digital transformation. So like Einstein used to say, the mind is like a parachute, it only works if open. So on the digital transformation, on the business point of view, most of the people look to it as a group, or let's say an approach that the organizations may have to digitalize the interface and the external connection with the market, with the clients. So let's say they look to the digital transformation on the external point of view, which is important and it's a reality. It's exactly what we are doing today here with Zoom and these kind of tools. But digital transformation is also and mainly internal on your process and on your business disruption. And when we talk about that, we have to understand that business disruption and digital transformation implies a lot of transformation on your own organization, on your process, and we should not treat this as a myth. So most of us must be alert, and businessmen, entrepreneurs, they must be alert what is going on around them, what is going on with their client bases, with their market, what is going on with all the, let's say, the rules around this business, legislation, trend, society, and not look to the digital transformation as such. It's something that has to be analyzed in that perspective. And it's not an IT issue. Most of the times we think, well, we need a group of IT guys that will advise us, that will prepare a lot of tools, a lot of technology. Digital transformation is not technology. Digital transformation is business disruption, is changing of process using the technology, of course, but on the benefit of the process, internal and external process. So, in fact, nowadays, with the, let's say, there's a lot of what we call democratization of digital solutions, and the cloud solutions is a very good example that everybody understands it. So nowadays, the small and medium-sized companies have the chance to have solutions and to have, let's say, option to develop in the way that was not possible in the past due to the costs involved. You probably remember a few years ago that most of the solutions that are available today in cloud were only available in very expensive and let's say closed systems like SAP and others. And you can get exactly the same functionality nowadays with cloud solutions. And that has a huge impact on all companies and all sectors across the globe. So I think that we really need to look into the digital transformations on an external, but also an internal point of view on the organizations of your process. And you may see a lot of examples. Of course, I can now talk a little bit about our own example. We are an accounting and consulting firm. So we look into this development as an opportunity. But of course, like any other company in any sector, we can perfectly use this development as an opportunity. And if you look to some of the panelists already spoke about it, they found new opportunities and new products and new service they can provide with the new tools, with the new technology. It allows us to have access to solutions that only the large organization had access in the past, and we can really adapt and optimize our process internally and externally. So basically, what we are doing in our firm regarding this development and the digital transformation that we are also applying in our organization, well, as I was saying, we try to provide new services. Just to give an example, we are just implementing this month a client portal that allows everybody not only to interact internally with our external partners and our clients, but also, as I told you, it's a tool that is not only external, it allows us to connect let's say, the workflow from the external origin, which are our clients and our partners, to our own internal technology and process. So trying to optimize the whole process, the whole workflow inside the company now is totally digital. And this is possible because we are implementing these tools, of course, but looking to it on the humanized perspective. And this is also a very important topic I would like to address. Technology and digital should be humanized. I mean, it's very important that we optimize the process with these new tools, but to keep a human touch. What I mean with a human touch, just to give an example what we are doing in our company. For instance, our client portal means a total digital interface with our clients, but our clients knows that they know exactly who is their accounting manager and who is on the other side, that has automatic notifications when he's uploading or downloading files. Both sides are notified with an email between the two of them in an automatic way, but we try to keep a human touch. And I think this is quite important in this new era. So basically, this is it. Arnold, thank you. These are our contacts, and thank you very much for your attention.
Okay, great. Thank you, Pedro. That was
welcome.
Very, very interesting. So now we are on the last speaker, Mario Rodrigues from Upwords Translation.
Yeah, correctly.
Okay, great, excellent.
You got me scared with the other Mario. I wasn't looking at the speakers list.
Oh,
so,
right.
Oh my God, it's my turn. So
yeah.
Let me try to share my screen. I'll be as brief as possible. Let me check something fast, because normally when I add my my PowerPoint to Zoom, it gets me slow at first. Let me check. Okay. 1 second. Okay. So can you see me?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay,
yeah.
great.
Okay.
Great. Let's just check if it's working. It's okay. It's good. So as Arnold said, I'm Mario. I'm the CEO of Upwords, a multilingual translation and communication company. I'll explain briefly what we do. Basically, we translate and we use specialized translators, basically human translation, and we also use neural machine translation. We also have remote interpreting for conferences, and then we also handle multilingual marketing, such as multilingual SEO, copywriting, content writing, and have other complementary solutions such as subtitling, dubbing, or transcription. Basically, we like to think of ourselves like a one-stop shop for communication with foreign clients and foreign markets. But getting into the topic, which is digital transformation, I want to explain more or less where we were until 2007. Not many projects were processed manually. Most of the things were already done using software. We had translation memories and integrated glossaries. We already used machine translation, but statistical and rule-based. There was not AI-based. The innovations were not as fast-paced, although there were several each year. What happened in 2007? Basically, before, translation technology was affordable almost only to companies, but in 2007, with the arrival of Google Translate, it disrupted the translation sector, even though it had no intention to do so. Because with Google, non-professional translation was democratized, becoming more directly accessible and increasing the importance and significance of translation. Google Translate also led to unprecedented innovations in the translation industry. So what is happening now? The world has changed more in the last 8 months than in the last 4 to 6 years. And the businesses that will achieve more growth are those technologically and digitally more prepared. So according to a study of Common Sense Advisory, 76% of the consumers prefers to buy products or services with information in their own language, even if they are good English speakers. So talking to consumers in their native language has become essential to companies with a digital DNA. To give you an example, volume of translation needs has increased 10 times over the last 3 years. So as a company, we are expected to use technology to help lower the language barriers. So Upwords had to find a way to increase the speed and volume of translations that it could handle while making clients spend less to translate more. So how did we do this? Basically, we start combining neural machine translation with human post editing and integrating with client platforms such as Salesforce, Zendesk, or Shopify. Also training machine translation engines customized per client. And finally, we use human translation, copywriting, and transcreation for premium contents only. So this leads me to the final question, which is how efficiently are your digital products and services being communicated abroad? My contacts are here in case you have anything you need. So thank you for listening. And Arnold, you can remove my host privileges.
Okay, if you will have to stop sharing because I cannot stop it from my side.
Okay, so the power is mine.
Yeah, there we go. All right. Okay, well that concludes, and thank you everybody. You have kept to almost 3 minutes, everybody. So that's very good. So we'll have more time for discussions and questions. If I don't know if you want to start off or.
Yeah, first and foremost, obviously, I want to thank everyone for telling us 6 very and totally different stories from across their industries. It's been really, really, really interesting, and I think we can pick something up from everything. One of the things I'd certainly start with you, Gerard, was in terms of innovation, how has the need to digitally transform your business translated into innovation in actually the service that you deliver for customers?
Yeah, I suppose the point I was trying to get across was that the requirement to transform business digitally has been there for quite a while. A lot of it's been driven by customer requirements. So I guess there's a lot of, so maybe I'm showing my age now, but I suppose the people that are now coming into the business world that are owning businesses and running businesses and availing of those waste services are used to interacting 100% digitally with companies. You know, they don't want to ring a call center to request a service or, you know, to process a complaint. So a lot of the waste companies that we deal with are now being forced to address that digital transformation within their business. What was the curiosity from the survey that we did a number of years ago is that a lot of these companies were struggling to see the return on investment, and there was no real kind of a push for them to embrace that journey or get on that journey. So what we've seen this year is 2 different sides of the coin. One, their customer base is still very much looking for digital engagement strategies, BIs, web portals and stuff like that. But they're now forced with a digital transformation within their own business. So the majority of customers would have been on premise. You know, it would have been very, very slow, even though it's the waste industry had a mentality like the fintech industry. We're very slow to leave their data outside of the bounds of their own network. So have had to look at the cloud infrastructure, had to look at the ability to allow their staff to work remotely, regardless of the role that they had within the company. And really, we're at a stage where we can offer that to companies, and the only people that need to go to the facility are the drivers or the people that have to operate the machinery within the facility itself. So it's been an interesting year in terms of, you know, the products that we've been pushing for a while are really front and center. I think the challenge that we have as a company, and I'm interested to pick the brains of some of the people on the call, is how we engage with our customers to show them that we have the solution for the problems that they're facing at the moment. And an interesting a question I have for Dietmar maybe is around the video interactions, you know, because it's something that we've beginning to embrace ourselves from a marketing perspective, but I think maybe we're getting a bit caught up on the quality of the content maybe, and maybe the lint, and I'd love to hear what you think is, you know, is it a 30-second off of a, you know, a good decent iPhone? Is that good enough quality these days, is it?
You're on mute, Dietmar.
This modern technology, it's unbelievable. I not get used to.
It's hard to keep up, isn't
it? I changed my job. No. Yeah, it's really what you want to say. Short is very good. It's perfect. Well, you catch the people. If you can deliver something afterwards for more detailed questions. So what we're doing, it's really 30 seconds, 1.5 minutes, 2.5 minutes, and then even 10 minutes. If people want to know more and listen to it when you bring some details, the quality is all the content you bring. The quality from the picture, for sure, you have to start with the very good quality while everything else destroys with pixels and everything. So you have to bring in a good data. But the quality is really your content, and the people want to see it authentic and clear. We made lots of tests with really nice little things, cooking, and just out of the blue, even with the iPhones. We have a technology, and we also a technology company. We have different technologies where you can do everything with the iPhone, let's say the 11 Pro, and you film, you edit, you do everything with the iPhone. And so that's the quality part from what you deliver and the content, what you bring to the people. But everything is possible, but short is great.
Thanks, Dietmar.
Thanks, Dietmar. I had a question for you, Mario, which was tied to something that Pedro said. Pedro talked about humanizing the experience, and I was kind of struck by your app for the care home. Did the people using that feel that, you know, having a piece of technology, did it improve their interaction and the humanity of the experience by using the app for the care home, or did it diminish it but made process efficiencies better?
Well, it improved a lot and made the process efficiency better, especially in the United Kingdom, where they have some rules there where it's mandatory to keep a record of a lot of information related to patients. So these kind of solutions always allow you to improve in a lot of ways. Also, some other thing that is planned to be used in the future is all the data that is collected in this platform. It will be used, and they're already trying to use it in the future to predict some problems that might appear. So they're trying to predict if you may get some disease or something from the data that they're collecting. So these solutions, I think they're quite helpful in those ways.
And I think, Pedro, one of the things that also struck me is the idea that you are gathering literally shed loads of data all of the time. But as someone else mentioned, data is not information. How do you translate the data into humane information, or suitable for all of us, that people can act on and use decisively?
Right. Well, basically, of course, most of the data has to be firstly treated. You know, this is like a factory. I used to say that our activity is like a factory. We get a lot of data, tons of data, as you said. We make a first treatment, which is then via our systems, of course. And then based on that, our people, and that's the human part of it, has to interpret what is the output of that data process, let's say that way. And in fact, that's why we are focused on our account managers, which are the person that interpret the data and contacts with the client. So basically, we get a lot of raw materials. It's the whole data we get. We transform it. And then we get the final product, but that final product has to be sold. So basically, we have a lot of effort to train our people to not be only technicians, because they are technical people, they are accountants, but also to have, let's say, a market view, not a marketing people, but a market view of things, in order to be able to be, let's say, to transform the data or the information they have on useful information, and of course in this case management information, to our client. And that's exactly the point. And that's why human resources are still the key in our organization, independent of all the technology, all the digital transformation we are doing inside and externally.
And let me just add that I think that these data transformation processes can be applied to almost everything. So that will be something that in the coming years, we already see it, but in the coming years, it will be huge.
I agree. Although just to add one detail, some activities is an example of our activity, but also others like lawyers and doctors and so on. Now people talk a lot of medical, digital or online medical assistance. I believe that these activities are a trust activity. People still, face-to-face is still very important, even by Zoom, doesn't matter. But the trust is key in some activities. So you can have tons of technology and that helps a lot to speed up the process and the workflow, but you still need the trust behind it. So that's human touch I was talking about. Yeah.
I have a question for Barry, if I may. Barry, are you still on the call? I see you there, yeah.
I sure am.
Barry, you are in a business which deals with like incredible volumes of data. And, we're all trying to capture more of it. And you're in a business that's probably now going to the other extreme and trying to capture less. Do you do much refinement on an ongoing basis on the data that you capture and how you use it?
We're actually trying to capture more, would you believe? And yes, the challenge we're finding is hiring the right kind of people to know how to deal with the data and how to apply the machine learning and the artificial intelligence to it for things like our forecasting, which is a huge thing for us as a business with the number of products we have. Because we don't sell individual products, we sell solutions to customers. It sounds like rubbish, but effectively, if you buy a telecoms network for a country, Luxembourg doesn't buy the same one that the United States does. So we have to have different solutions, and so we're doing an awful lot of that. But somebody said earlier on about a lot of data. I mean, we're data rich and we're information poor. So that's where we're really working very hard, is understanding better the data there.
Yeah.
We're trying to find tools to help us, to be honest, as well as the people. So working with some new stuff there.
So would I be right in saying, Barry, that Nokia are both a data provider and aggregator in the IoT space? Would that be correct?
Yeah, I mean, the simple way to think of IoT is you wouldn't have it if it wasn't Nokia. Okay. Simplistically, right? We literally own the patents for 5G. Perfect. Right? We own the patents for 4G. So it is the company that everything except selling you the service.
But is one of the challenges, I guess, and I mentioned the Smart Cities event in Barcelona that's normally on in November.
So we're in the Smart City in Bristol, for example. We're a part of that. We're a part of one in Abu Dhabi and in a number of other cities where they're doing it.
But are we at a stage where everything seems to be IoT ready? There seems to be mountains and mountains of data. But, could you pinpoint a city or an organization that is really, really harvesting that data and making the most out of it? Or are we at that stage yet? I feel like that we're in that data acquisition stage, but we're not yet there where people are actually really making something out of it.
To be honest with you, you'd need a Nokia sales guy to be able to give you an answer to that. Okay. I mean, I joined because I'm Irish, and I met John Duggan and he said you should join this group. So I threw a few euros at it, and then when somebody said, come along and talk, I thought I'd share a little bit about what Nokia is doing in terms of what we're actually doing with digitalization within our business to make our business perform better. Yeah. In terms of the solutions we're delivering, the things we're doing, we just announced that we're going to put the 4G network on the moon. So we're doing some fairly innovative stuff, and that's literally the award we just got last week. We will put it there. Now, you can ask how many people will use it, but it'll be there at the time. But I don't know, Gerard, not to be a complete smart ass, I'm afraid.
No, you're fine.
I have a depth of knowledge of it.
Just to make an observation on your point, Gerard, I think there's kind of two parallel situations when it comes to this whole technology thing. We have big corporates and exactly what you're describing, Barry. You've got huge systems capability, data overflowing all over the place. And what's missing there oftentimes is you're looking for tools that will help simplify things, and actually it's methodologies that you need, because what the tools oftentimes dictate what the methodology is, and it should be the other way around. Yeah. But then you go to small business. I mean, the number of people who seem to think that technology is, I've got one of these things, therefore I'm somehow in the 21st century, yeah, and run their entire business off this, yeah. Which you know, from the point of view of, you know, doing your accounting and all that and invoicing, you can do all that now, yeah. But some of it comes across as being amazingly unprofessional, yeah. I'm sure, Pedro, you must have some small business clients, and some of the ways they give you their information must just completely do your head in sometimes. But there's just an immense, you know, spectrum of all sorts of things going on. And going back to Barry, you were saying about supply chain forecasting, yeah, never an easy subject in a global business, yeah. But you know, I'll give you an example. I'm working with a bunch of software guys at the moment, and we are working on some forecasting algorithms. And what I'm finding with these guys now, they're brilliant programmers. They're fantastic programmers, yeah. But they conceptually don't understand data, yeah. They understand programming and processing and all the servers and things I don't understand, yeah.
We've got some serious rocket scientists working in our company, and we gave them our data to play with, and they told us where we should put our distribution centers. Yeah. And they recommended Russia, and they recommended Nigeria. Yeah. Now, on a map, they look great, but for any of you who think that compliance is fun, step into Russia and Nigeria and see what's happening, right? Yeah. So you can apply the most brilliant, but then somebody has to be able to say, yeah, but we're not putting a warehouse in Nigeria unless we want to lose stuff or we want to sell it in Nigeria. You definitely don't want this a distribution center. Not against anybody who's from Nigeria on this call or has been there, but it's just not a place you want to be
difficult places to do.
It's going to make my Irish-Nigerian business network call kind of awkward.
Yeah.
I may have insulted the country that will be the fastest growing country for the next 20 years, apparently. So if I did, I apologize.
No, but this is an ongoing problem that, you know, we have more of this cloud software, we have more solutions and bloody good ones in many cases. That's great, but in my opinion, the fundamentals of issues around data versus information haven't changed that much. And you know, and I've been at this for, you know, 30 years since someone showed me how to switch on a PC, you know, and thankfully I kind of took to it like a duck to water, but many people don't. Yeah, I mean, I'm working with one guy, and if I send him an email, he apologizes to me because he doesn't know how to switch on a computer, and he has to wait for his wife to come home to do it. Yeah, so you know, we have this enormous spectrum of you know, people who think they know. It's like you know, everyone who's in their 20s, we just assume that they all know about technology, and they don't. They know about PlayStations, yeah, and Xboxes, but you know, that's not real, you know, data technology. Yeah.
But we also have great examples of how you can see this nowadays in the real world. Last year, I was talking to Luís Araújo, the president of Turismo Portugal. And he was telling me a great example. An owner of a restaurant asked him how he could use Google data to understand when it was most probable if an Italian person would pass by the restaurant. So he could send the only staff that he had that spoke Italian home. So people are already trying to use the data. We just need the people that need to use it, the owners, to go and look for use cases for it. But besides that, we need to collect the data.
I agree, but I mean, listen, I still know CEOs who don't switch on their own email, and have got a PA who prints them all out and delivers to them. Yeah.
Definitely, yeah. We have a lot of,
and they've been doing that for since the whole thing started. So you know, there's an immense, and the problem with large companies is, you know, if the people at the very top don't embrace this kind of change and all this kind of stuff, there's very little urgency. Going back to your very first point, Gerard, yeah, but you know, there's no kind of you know, burning platform for change and some of this stuff. Yeah, that people don't do it until they have to do it, and then oftentimes then it can be too late, or at least more rushed. Yeah.
We're actually, in terms of innovation, we're setting up incubators within the business. I mean, it's 100,000 people, so you get to play with some of these things, but we're setting up incubators and we're rewarding people for trying and failing on the basis that if you don't fail, you're never going to try. And it's cash bonuses, it's career improvements, it's interesting stuff to try and get people engaged and taking a chance, because most people won't take that chance, right? It's much easier to sit back and be a follower than attempt to be a leader.
And Barry, if you allow me, I think that's a great strategy. And the project that I was telling you about before, Localista, which is incubated in the European Space Agency Incubated Center, they open all their data, all their satellite data for all the projects that were incubated to use. And there are people that are using satellite data to make predictions on water, where you can use better the water in cities. So they are using that data, that satellite data, to do a lot of stuff. And that's only available to people because of those incubation programs. So I think that's the way to go.
But we're also actually going for open sourcing with our software, with some of our software now, to try and create industry standards. We've just decided that we won't be able to take on some of our very big Chinese competitors if we just go for scale against businesses that don't have to work in the same way as we do. And we're having to say, how do we open this up, and how do we encourage people to play with us and to be interested in our products? And it's really, software is going to be the answer in the future. The products can be replaced. It's the intelligence behind it that's going to make a difference.
And we see countries following that strategy. The Netherlands open a lot of data. They have a lot of policy to make the data available to everyone. And we see a lot of small companies and businesses starting to get that data and start to improve their businesses with it.
In terms of the data while we were talking about it, Mario, you mentioned earlier on about the fact that people can access the things offline on your particular app when things happen. I don't know about Portugal, but here in Ireland we have a thing called the GDRP, which is the General Data Protection Register. And if it's a data breach or anything like that, we have to report to it. How do you, with your app that operates offline, that you have everyone details on it, how do you get around the GDRP issue that maybe arise?
Yeah, in Portugal, we also have the GDPR. So since the Nourish Carer app was something that was already in the market before the GDPR, we have some time to adjust to it. But regarding that problem, to have the data in offline devices, we try to ensure that the data is not available to any other app. So you wouldn't be allowed to get that data from the operating system. So that's the first thing that we try to do. And we had a lot of problems on dealing with that, especially with images. So we had images with exams from people that were available on the app. And the first thing that we tried to do was to make sure that that information was not available to anything else rather than the person that was using the application. But besides that, there's a lot of stuff related to legal, mainly to justifying why you need that information. And if you have the right person to tell you how you can justify that, even with the GDPR, you can do pretty much everything.
Okay, thanks, Mario.
You're welcome.
Rodrigues, I have a question for you. One of the things that struck me, and I'd love to get your view on it, is you seem to think that instead of digital transformation and machine learning and translation taking away from your business, it's actually increased the opportunity. Do you think that's an outlier in the industry, that this, AI has increased your opportunity rather than decreased it, or do you think that's going to be much more prevalent across industries?
I think it's going to be much more prevalent across industries, especially because translation is very subjective, right? So if machines are starting to get the grip on it and actually making it sound okay, it means that anything else will be taken over by software sooner or later. You know, language is the ultimate resort of humans because we express our emotions, we express a lot of different things that machines can't assess because they don't have context, right? I mean, if you say, I don't know, something in the street, it can be different from something that is on paper because you're in a different context and machines are there in their own environment. In our case, of course, machine translation also took something from the business, but Google Translate is not, it's taking away some clients, but no one that wants to communicate their business professionally is going to use Google Translate. Basically, if they want to do that, they can reach out to us. We will do it with neural machine translation, which is state-of-the-art technology. Also, Google-based, or we also use some other sources, and we can train those engines. We can then review it because in the end, the human touch is irreplaceable. Of course, you can use just neural machine translation with trained engines, and that's why I was referring to it. That's mostly for, let's say, e-commerce. You're not going to manually translate 1,000, 2,000 products, especially in a marketplace. So as long as it's acceptable and the user understands this, that's okay. But if you want to communicate, to translate your website and actually attract customers, then you'll need at least post-editing with the most machine translation, and done very well, which means that we post-edit first with a human and then review it after with another human. It lowers cost and it lowers also productivity, and we have tons of solutions to actually help clients spend less and make more. Actually, Luis from Domestica, which isn't here, is we have been talking, and we're probably going to work together. And it was very interesting. If he was here, it would allow us to, from his perspective, how we helped shed a lot of light and save some costs on his side, other than translation.
Mm-hmm.
Mario, could I ask you a question? Sure. You had a statistic there that 76% of consumers prefer to purchase in their own language. And as somebody who has had to deal with translations here in Iberia over the last couple of years, sometimes it's hard to justify to the marketing manager the spend on one translation service versus another. But have you any statistics around how many consumers are put off by a bad translation? Because I'm a big believer that initial interaction that you have with a consumer dictates your relationship in the initial phases. So if I have a badly Google translated introduction email, what percentage of consumers do you think are going to go, oh, I'm not dealing with this guy, he's an idiot?
I mean, I think that's a very situational question. What do I mean by this is, normally people that are put off by bad translation, they probably will never come back to you and you won't know. That's the problem, that's the problem with marketing anyhow. It's half of it is going to the trash bin. The problem is understanding which half, and you will have success. Of course, digital is changing that. But I don't know if there are any specific studies about that, but I'm almost sure there are. It's just a matter of going to my resources and seeing. But I mean, people have no idea how much people are put off by bad translations, or they didn't even need to be bad. They just need to not be good enough, and it will actually make the difference between choosing one provider and the other. It's just like in your example, if you see poor English, you get suspicious, right? It helps a lot. Even between language variants, for instance, in Portugal, we hate to see things written in Brazilian Portuguese and them the same, you know. It's not, it sounds fake. It sounds like laziness from our provider or company that is wanting to sell to us. They don't even bother to adapt this to me. I mean, it's just changing a little bit the style, and you know, that's the kind of the mentality that people have. If they see something that has not been customized for them, they will think that you won't do that for them in another aspect of the business, which is whatever you were trying to buy, right? So I think it's a matter of, you don't have a second chance to cause a good first impression. And that's for me, that's the biggest point in favor of translation. That's why we use premium content, which is the website, the selling arguments, in whatever publications you want to do on LinkedIn or whatever. We try to translate that with premium, but then everything else that is more automated or more operation-wise, we can use AI and then post-editing, so that it lowers your costs while not impacting your business. And that's exactly the mindset behind it.
Cool. No,
can I ask? I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, sometimes it's hard for me to justify that extra spend, and I'm trying to say it's for quality purposes. And but again, if I had a statistic, it'd be wonderful to throw that back at them, you know. But thanks, Mario. I definitely agree. Yeah.
There's one thing. I mean, now it's cheaper, but translation has always been. I'm of course it's my business, but if I would be someone from outside, I would think translation is expensive. The thing is, to get a good translation done, you need someone which is an expert in that field. I mean, any of you, Barry, I don't know you. Of course, if I want to translate it for your company, Gerard, or for yours, Barry, I would use a communication engineer or a translator with a lot of experience in that field. And that's how we work, by the way, and in waste management as well. I actually was asked by a company which has a CEO, American CEO, but it's based in Portugal, to actually copyright something about waste management. And so what did we do? I mean, of course, we check our database and we use the appropriate people. Translation is exactly the same. You might know the source. Sometimes you don't, by the way, because it's so complex that you don't understand. So the same is with translators. We only use specialized people, and that's a big difference. I mean, you cannot go away from that, because when you go into your language, you need to actually write as people in that business. If it's not like that, even if it's understandable, people would say this is just a translation. If people understand that it's a translation, okay, it's not good anymore, you know. It has to look like it was written originally, but of course, it's not every time is possible. Sometimes you have to put something between parentheses or something like that. But in general, that's what you should do, right? You should use experts. And I understand that translation is expensive, but that's because if you do it right, it's more expensive. Of course, now we can lower the costs with the machine translation. We even train the machine translation engines for any company. If they want to use these terms and this style, we'll adjust by our style guide, incorporating them into the AI and train them as little by little, so that the product is more and more efficient, and that lowers also their costs of post-editing, of reviewing.
Thanks, Mario. Sharon, you had a question.
Yes, thank you.
There was also a question here from Jerry by the chat. I don't know.
We'll go to Sharon's first, and then we'll have a look.
Okay.
So really interesting presentations today. Thank you very much. The question I have is, obviously digital transformation allows us to give variation to our products and services. That's what it allows us to cater to the needs of the exception rather than the expectation. But when we talk about data, we're actually talking about people's lives. We're talking about every transaction we make, every time we move around, you know, the city, the country, every time we use any kind of, you know, service. And companies, you know, the big concern for me, I'm just wondering what you guys think, is that there also has to be a sense of responsibility. Like, you know, you have this massive amount of data on people, and you mentioned that, you know, Nokia, Barry, are, you know, looking for more and more, and that's, you know, obviously so they can provide better products and better services. But it has to be done responsibly as well. And, you know, when you're working with these young IT people who are so focused on developing the next unicorn, where, you know, where do you think also that there's that responsibility running through everything that's happening? Maybe.
Not sure if I can fully answer that. I mean, what we're dealing with right now is there's parts of our business, the R&D part of our business, where we go out and we look to find those rocket scientists, and we're expecting them to pass through the business, and there are pretty serious rewards for them for that. When I look at the operations side of it, the interesting challenge is that we're being focused, and I'm in Portugal because the company took a view that said the UK was not a place to have our global operation. A better place to have it is Portugal. So now we're looking, saying, how do we find the right people in the Portuguese market to help us do some of these things, but from a logistics operational point of view. And then you don't have the same kind of budgets. You're not getting rocket scientists in logistics, as is fairly clear from talking to me. So exactly how we find that right balance is actually one of the biggest challenges I'm finding right now, trying to run global teams here, is trying to find some of the people that can do that. So I can't speak to it properly, I'm afraid. Sorry.
Mario, maybe.
I would just add something. Well, definitely the ethics side, it's a challenge. We feel that not only for forecasts or for the data and the information that we get from the data, but I think for every industry. So we could say the same thing about weapons. It's difficult. It goes to the basics of the people and the human being. But I think that there are some things, policy and some practices by like anonymizing data that are being followed even from operators, telecommunication operators in Portugal, that we can see that they are following those processes and that they are anonymizing the data. And I think that gives me some relief, but it's going to be a challenge.
Thank you.
Sure.
Maybe I can add something to that. I think we have focused a lot on technology and not in real business models using the digital transformation. I think for the businessmen, for entrepreneurs, that's what's really key. Technology, just a mean to get there, and not, well, basically we should use the technology and should use the digital transformation on the organizations to automatize processes that are repetitive, regular, and you should focus on add value activities to our clients. That's the big goal of digital transformation. And we add value activities, it's really a paradigm, because in a way you are digitalizing a lot of activities, but at the end you get more time to add value activities which have a much higher human touch, as we were saying during this webinar, than the others. And that's why I think in general, the business and the professions are being transformed due to this, to a more add value approach to our client, what we are developing in new products and new services, as Sharon was asking, what we do with the new products and services that we can handle from the digital transformation. And that's exactly the topic. You can free your time from regular tasks that can be robotized, can be automatic, can be automatic replies and so on, and use your time to real add value activity, to give value to your client bases. And that's exactly what we should get from technology. Technology is the mean, is not the end of it.
But if you look at what it's truly achieving today, I agree with you. But if I look at what it's truly achieving today, the part where we're seeing the most success right now is RPAs. And in RPAs, we're effectively attacking the area of the business with the cheapest people doing the most basic and boring work. We're not freeing them up to talk to more customers. We're trying to free them up not to work for the company, if we were completely honest about it, right?
Of course.
But overall, the intent would be that by doing that more efficiently, we'd have more money for R&D and we'd have more money for sales, and we would drive that engagement. So overall, you're trying to get the same thing, but I think most companies...
I think you could argue that for any technology or
software. I would think so. I mean, that's what I'm saying. I mean, realistically...
We're automating things. But look, to touch on, I think Pedro made an excellent point. From our point of view, we were doing exactly that, Barry. You know, we're automating the mundane tasks, the basic tasks to free up resources to concentrate on the exceptions, Sharon. So slightly inverted to what you mentioned. We're concentrating on the standardized queries, the standardized inquiries in relation to what day is my bin collected, etc. And then it's dealing with, oh, my bin wasn't collected because X amount was in it or something like that. The other side of it is we're all obviously under the GDPR. But the interesting thing and the move to the cloud, we are seeing what parts of our software are being used the most by the companies that now use that software in the cloud. So it allows us to apply our development resources on the core areas of the product. So before, we would always be attracted by, oh, this feature set or this function, or this is going to get us to the next, million in revenue, blah, blah, blah. But when you see the data of where people are spending their most time in the actual solution, that's allowed us to go, right, well, we really need to tidy up this screen, less clicks, better interaction and stuff like that. It is a little scary because you see how much, click strokes, how much time people are spending on specific windows and things like that. And there is a responsibility, I think, in all of us to be, conscious of what we do with that data. I don't believe there's anything nefarious behind it. But as Barry's pointed out, we are driving cost out of the business, and it's the main reason that companies invest in the solutions. That's the nature of the game, I think, yeah.
Well, I think just your point about RPA, Barry, I mean, we've seen this with shared service, outsourcing, all that kind of stuff over the years. And in principle, there's nothing wrong with any of those things, including RPA. But there's always a danger that we automate something which actually we should have improved. So we just automate a bad process.
Yeah, I mean, the challenge is certainly not to automate a bad process, right? I mean, a lot of time seems to go into trying to say what's wrong with the process. Can we get that right and automate it in the right way? I mean, when we talk about the release of information, I haven't addressed that in terms of private information, but Nokia must be one of the most regulated companies in the world for that.
Yeah.
Because every government in the world is attacking Huawei right now. And when they're attacking Huawei, they're not giving us a free run, right? Because if they do, there'll be a whole different conversation. So I mean, I have an amazing level of confidence in what we're doing, but whether I'm overly optimistic or not, I don't know. But I know when I see the way we do data and the way we anonymize data before we let anybody touch ours, if we're asking them to help us, then we absolutely anonymize everything of it to make sure that they can see a country. So yeah, I mean, we let people see to a country level because we need to for logistics, or perhaps to a city. But there's no way we're talking to customers, and the cities and the countries are not telling them our customers.
I think there's a thing that is relevant is all the data, the old data that we're now starting to anonymize data, right? We think we are more aware, we are more careful about that, but during decades, there was not, I won't say decades, but still, the cloud for me it's not new. Basically, it was just a branding technique, because the cloud has always been there. That's why you send emails and they pop up in in your inbox, because the cloud is basically supported by physical servers, so it doesn't really exist. So it does exist, but it was transformed in a way that it would be more understandable for users.
We sell the cloud and we deliver it on trucks. Yeah. So if you think it's really in the air, I've got to tell you it's not.
Exactly. So the big data, I think in the future machines will be more powerful, and I think if you don't start really anonymizing stuff, they will find out everything about you. They didn't do that to this point because we don't have the algorithm or the technology to do that, but because we have millions of data for the last 15 years. That's enough to destroy the world.
Brian made a comment earlier on about his age. I got my first job because I was shadowing somebody who was working on a computer, and she told the manager to stuff it. And somebody said, "Do you know how to switch this machine on?" And I did. And that's literally what I knew, but I got my first job.
That's great.
When I searched for information that I had lost and that I really wanted, I didn't know I had done it, but when I did a search, I found it on the web. Right, so I didn't even know I'd put it there. Right, so
Wow.
it goes to show you that you know, 20 years ago or whatever, we were all using the web, hitting save and not knowing where we were putting it, right? And just hoping it was going somewhere safe, and then you find it wasn't or whatever. I mean, thankfully it's been safe now, right?
That
I didn't work for Nokia back in those days, by the way, just to be clear.
I didn't know that now there are companies specialized in cleaning your data. Basically, when you get to CEO, they actually clean all your data before you're appointed CEO. Let's say you're going to be appointed CEO of Nokia. They come, they check all the data that is available online, and they remove everything from all sources. I didn't know. I just heard this week that they do that. So
My kids would be incredibly happy if that happened with my social profile, I think.
For sure. A lot of us, I think that's a really good scoop for future, any future business, even for individuals. If you manage to do that, they will be super happy. I think I just found myself a new business. I don't know.
Does anyone have any more questions for any of our participants today? No?
Oh, thanks very much. That was
We'll
very
have,
interesting.
we will have each other's data, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I do have some questions, but that doesn't. I prefer to like do it in a structured way and contact by email, ask about this and this and this. You know, right now we just all over the place, and that's why I was asking. There was a lot of interesting stuff, but I want to have it on my own time. That's how people work right these days. They don't call, they just use WhatsApp to send a message whenever they want to send it, and just hear it whenever they want to hear it. So it's kind of, we're all programmed this way. So I'll say
I'd like to work for that company.
So you don't want a letter, Mario, is what you're saying?
basically no.
Okay.
Good.
Lovely to meet you all, and thank you for your time today.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the opportunity. Take care, guys.
Thank you very much.
Great.
Well done. Thank you, Aoife. Thank you, Arnold.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Take care.